Hey everyone, my name's Donna. I'm the owner here at Bookkeeping Made Simple. Today we're going to talk a little bit about things that cause pain in the business. Okay, and this is where your accountant can really come in and help you grow your business. We're going to talk today about pain in the business, and most of that pain generally comes from compliance issues. When most people think about compliance, actually most people don't, but small business owners do. Big business owners do. This is a critical part of running a business. Now, what people forget is you can't run a business without bookkeeping at all. Someone has to take care of the record keeping, but let's talk today about just compliance issues, which usually translates to taxes. I'm recording this the day before corporate tax returns are due, which is March 15th. And then individual tax returns, this is 2022. There's a holiday on April 15th. So they have pushed the due date back to April 18th this year. And this is the biggest pain in most businesses. This is where most businesses really run into trouble. They fall out of compliance with tax authorities. The problem with that is that tax authorities, they don't call you to tell you they're late, that you are late with your taxes. They send you a letter, and if you don't respond to the letter, they send someone to your house and your bank and start taking assets. So we don't want that. We're going to talk a little bit about the three main kinds of pain in a business, the three places where compliance is critical, and most business owners do not follow this. You may notice that I'm not talking about compliance for major corporations. If you're a publicly traded company, you actually do need a CPA because you have to have your books audited every year. And that is not a service that we offer. We are not a CPA firm. We are more of a business consulting firm. So you will notice that this particular video is geared more to small business. Nothing that's publicly traded. So we're going to classify the needs of businesses in three sections. Today is about painkillers. And like I said, that's mostly compliance pain. Tomorrow we'll talk about moving the needle. In other words, we're going to talk about changing the way things actually are to improve your business. And then lastly, we'll talk about process improvement. In other words, how to make more money by spending less time. So we're going to start off with compliance, which is the biggest pain in most businesses. Of course, like I said, this usually is tax related. Sometimes it is audit related. We're going to talk about all of that. When you think of taxes, most people instantly go to income tax. This is the season. Tis the season to hate the IRS. If you're an IRS guy watching this, I'm sorry. You knew what you were getting into, and you knew you were going to be hated. Nobody likes dealing with the IRS. We can certainly help with income tax returns. We do file Schedule C on your 1040. We file personal returns. We also we can file for any business entity except publicly traded corporations. So we do file for single and multi-owner LLCs. We file for S Corps, and we can file for C Corps as well. And then we can also file income tax returns to any states that require them. Not every state has state income tax, but if they do, we can help you get that taken care of. We also can advise you on what expenditures are tax deductible, and that depends 100% on the business that you're in. Of course, I'm an accountant, so buying a bobcat or some other heavy equipment dirt mover is not part of my business model. And so if I bought one, it's not tax deductible. It would be for my ex-husband who does concrete for a living. It's a normal and ordinary expense for his business, but not mine. So that, like I said, it depends on the business you're in. There are some things that I can write off as tax deductible. because I do videos as part of our marketing that, ordinarily you can't. So we also will talk to you about, and I'm going to do this in a later video, it is on my list, the difference between paying on liabilities, making liability payments, credit cards, lines of credit. These are all liabilities to you versus expenses. And I'm going to do a video either later this week or early next. It talks about the difference when you're making your budget, the difference between liability payments and expenses. But we want to know which one of these, and it can be purchasing an asset. What is tax deductible? What can you write off? What is an above the line before you'd have to, an above the line expense, by the way, is pre-tax. What can you write off pre-tax that you don't have to pay taxes on? And this is where I will also talk about the most expensive way to make money is by a W-2 income. If you're getting wages or salary from an employer, it's the most expensive way to make money that there is. I recommend everybody own a small business, even if you don't do a ton with it. You just have to show a little bit of profit, and then you can write off a ton of stuff. And it's legal, and you probably won't get audited. We do not like to have any of our clients go through an audit. It's kind of important to me. So once we get the sales tax thing, and by the way, we can file, boy, I'm getting all bogged down in the tax thing. Once we get your income tax returns filed, if you do owe taxes, then it's time to start working with the IRS or your state tax authority to discuss if you do need to make payments. But honestly, this is usually the elephant in the room for most of my clients. This is the thing that they're afraid of, that they're going to owe so much in taxes that they're not going to be able to pay it. I've had at least 5 clients come in just in the past week that have expressed this very fear. And my experience has been that it's never as bad as you think it is, that most people overthink it, they get scared, they get worried, and then we find out later that it wasn't nearly as bad as they thought they were. Once we get the taxes prepared and ready to be filed, then we can start talking about, one, what to do to reduce your tax burden for the next year. Because once we hit preparing taxes, it is too late to do any planning. That is something that has to be done continually throughout the year. And second, almost every time it's not as bad as people think it is, especially if they've been stewing and they've been waiting 7 years to file their tax returns. That is a problem. We're happy to help. We do not want you to have any problems with any income tax authority. It brings me to the second way I see businesses really, taxes are the #1 things that make businesses go under, not because they owe it, but because they don't pay it. I've had one client who just sat on his sales tax literally for years, and I would give him his returns and say, this is how much you need to pay, and he would just not write the check. And it's not all I can do is say, dude, that's not your money. It's sales tax. You should have kept that in a separate account so you had that ready to be filed and to pay at the, you know about how much your sales tax is. You should have that ready to go. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. After income tax, then the next thing people think about is payroll tax. If you have W-2 employees, if you issue a W-2 to your employees at the end of the year, payroll tax is the next big thing to be concerned about. These are typically the 940, 941. This is where quarterly taxes come into play. 944 is a annual tax return for payroll. All of these 9 forms have to do with payroll taxes. Again, you can go maybe 1 or 2 quarters before the tax authority comes down and drops the hammer on you. We don't want that. We can help you get that taken care of, get everything filed, and get you caught up. Then of course, there's the end of year payroll tax forms. I'm stammering today. It must be because it's Monday. End of year payroll tax forms. These are the W-2s, these are the 1099s, these are the reporting forms, and then this is the reconciliation to the IRS and your state tax authority for the end of the year. So that's generally the 940. If you are overwhelmed with payroll, if you don't have a payroll company handling your payroll for you, they should be taking care of all of this. If you don't have one, or you don't feel like your payroll company is handling this appropriately, give us a call. We can audit that. We can take a look, see what's kind of going on with that, and then see what we can do to help you get it fixed. Incidentally, I am not someone who wants to try to slam a square peg in a round hole. Not every person is a good fit for our business or for our business model. And so we also, don't feel like we're going to try to just force you into signing up for our services. We would love for you to sign up for our services, but if it's not a good fit, we'll tell you pretty quickly, and then we will also help you find a better fit, whether it's with a different bookkeeper in our company or with an entirely different company. We don't want to work with people that don't fit well with us. So yeah, I'm not high pressure on sales at all. The third category that has a lot of business hurting, as I mentioned before, is sales tax. Now, the mindset that has to happen with sales tax is this is not your money. If you have to collect sales tax for your business, that sales tax money is not your money. You have collected it for the state on behalf of the state, and it is the state's money from the moment you are paid. And this is where some of the businesses that I have worked with over the years have really struggled. They think it's their money. They collected it. It was on their invoice. That's not true. You should be moving your sales tax funds. You should either make sure you have enough in the bank to pay it in your operating account, or possibly even set up a separate account just for sales tax so that you have the money there. I would even recommend doing that for income tax and self-employment tax, which again is going to depend on your unique situation about whether or not those things affect you. We can file sales tax for any state. We can talk to you about whether or not your business is a nexus. We can talk to you about online retail sales. That is a huge can of worms these days because they keep changing the law regarding this. So it used to be that you only had to pay tax for, say I'm in Utah. So if I had an online retail sales company, I only had to pay Utah sales tax on my Utah sales. So if I sold to someone in New York, I didn't have to worry about it. It's not covered. Well, of course, New York wants a piece of their action too. So up to a certain point, this is true that you don't have to pay sales tax for every single state in the union. It's going to depend on how much your sales in each state are. We can help you with that. And then there's some things that are unique. Every state has their own unique way of handling sales tax. So I can tell you how things are done in Utah, but if you're in California, it might not apply to you. Okay. If you're in Oregon, it might not apply to you. If you're in the cannabis industry, that's an entirely different thing. We would have to have a very long talk about that because cannabis is just taxed and regulated in every state in which it is legal. It is taxed and regulated differently from any other product. So that is something that we would have to have a very in-depth talk about. But many states and municipalities, up to the past 2 years, they have lost a lot of their property taxes. And so they are really looking towards sales tax to make up that shortfall in their budgets. If you're not sure about sales tax, if you have any questions about it, give us a call at 801-692-0032. We can talk to you about it. And we can start putting together a plan for your taxes, for all of your taxes, that will help dig you out of the hole you may or may not be in, and get you back into compliance. Now, once you are in compliance in your business, the next step is going to be to move the needle. And I'm going to talk about that next time. So, and then we're also going to talk about how to use your accounting professional to help you in this process. This is not something most people want to go through alone. It's not something most people know a ton about. And it's not something I have seen. I have seen so many signs in town for bookkeeping, accounting, payroll tax, and not all of them in fact, most of them do not take the time to do some planning and some work. We want to work with you as if we were your CFO or your chief financial officer. That would be fantastic, because then we can help you keep on top of your finances, help you come up with sales tax savings strategies, say that 5 times fast. We can help you reduce your tax burden, but that's a bit more in depth than just doing data entry for bookkeeping. So again, if you have any questions, please give us a call at 801-692-0032, and I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow.